Hello and welcome to your video all about Disneyland and the basics of going to Disneyland. I'm Karen. I am the travel agent at Tatum's Tailored Trips. I plan family vacations and I take the stress out of the planning, choosing and taking of your trips so that you can connect well with your family. And one of the trips that I plan for families on a very regular basis is that important trip to Disneyland. It's kind of, for some families it's once in a lifetime, and other people fall in love with Disneyland and they go again and again and again. And if you have found this video, that's probably because either your kids are interested in going or you would love to take your kids to Disneyland and you need some kind of 101 basics information in order to start your planning. There are kind of a few questions that it is really helpful to have a handle on before you really get into the details of planning a Disneyland vacation. And so I'm going to talk about those things in this video. If you are here with me live, then let me know you're here. Ask the questions that you have. And if you are watching this video sometime later, then please again comment or send me an email and I can go into a little bit more detail if that's what you need, or answer some other questions for you. All right, so let's start off with a very important question, which is how long is good to go to Disneyland or to Anaheim in general? How long of a trip should I plan? So if your trip is centered around going to Disneyland and you are trying to figure out how long to go, a good question to ask yourself is, how busy do you and your family like to be? If you are a go, go, go type family, your kids are going to be running from one thing to the next. You, in your regular life, you're happy to go from activity to activity and you don't need a lot of downtime, then your trip to Disneyland could be shorter. From Vancouver area, a short trip to Disneyland would be like 4 nights or 5 nights in Anaheim, and staying going to the parks for about 3 days. I would say that's kind of the shortest, in order to really see and do most of the shows and the rides in Disneyland. You're going to want at least 3 days in the parks, and then you want a travel day on either end when you're not trying to get into the parks. So I would say on the short side, if you really, really want to go and be really busy, then a 5-day trip with 3 days in the parks is good. If you are like my family and you like to take it a little slower, then my ideal trip is a 7-night trip with 5 days in the parks. When we go that way, I find that as the adults, we can kind of give the reins to the kids and we sort of follow them throughout the parks. And, if they want to wait in the line a second time to go on a ride that they really liked, then you can do that. And sort of the pressure is off. So if you're a family that tends to, have an activity and then need a little downtime, or if if the crowds and that kind of thing is overwhelming, then I would suggest actually planning a longer trip so that you can take those breaks that you need to take and not feel like you're going to miss out on something. So when you have a 7-day trip, so 7 nights in Anaheim, and 5 days in the parks, you'll have plenty of time to see everything, see and do everything. You will be able to take, half a day off if you want, and then there's actually a full day in the middle of your trip where you won't be going into the parks, and you could do something else. For my family, that's like hang out in the hotel, maybe go for a swim, watch a movie, because we really need our downtime. Sometimes my clients maybe would plan a trip to the beach on that day, or just walk around downtown Disney. I can help you with figuring out what to do on that down day. So that's kind of the two ideal trip lengths that I would consider. So 5 days if you really want to be busy and just cram it all in, or 7 days if you need to take breaks and go a little bit slower. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the layout of Disneyland Resort. You probably know about Disneyland, but you might not know that there's a second park, and it's called California Adventure. So when you arrive there, there's gates that you go through, and you're going to choose if you're going to go into Disneyland or if you're going to go into California Adventure. The feel of the parks is a little bit different. Disneyland has more of the traditional rides because it was opened first. So it's kind of a little bit more old time feel, although that is also where the new Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is opened, the new land that everybody's very excited about. So that's in Disneyland. In California Adventure, there are a few more thrill rides, like a big roller coaster, another ride that drops you down and shoots you up and that kind of stuff. So a little bit more thrill rides on that side, I would say. And they have a focus on the Pixar characters. So there's Toy Story Land, Pixar Pier with Toy Story themed rides and that kind of stuff. So there's two separate parks. That's what I want you to know. And there are different types of tickets that you can buy. One ticket you would buy to get into Disneyland or California Adventure each day. So that would be a base ticket. That means one park per day, either Disneyland or California Adventure. Or you can buy a park hopper, which allows you to go from one park and then over to the other park and back and forth as much as you like. We can talk about which is best for your family. Usually I suggest if you're there for 3 days or less that you would get the park hopper so that you don't miss out on anything. But if you're going to be there for 4 days or more, then you don't really need the park hopper and you can do just fine with the base ticket. Okay, so that's sort of timing and how busy you would like to be. Next question that comes up all the time is, what is the best time of year to go to Disneyland? And again, there's not a cut and dry answer. There's a balance between, sometimes people are looking for like when would be the least busy time of year. So there are a few weeks here and there in the year that tend to be less busy than other times. So that's just crowd levels. Then you need to balance the weather component. So they do actually have coolish weather in California, in Anaheim, and it also gets blazingly hot. So we would need to just determine what is comfortable for your family, if you're okay with the chance of rain, if that means that the crowd levels are going to be lower. So again, that's that balancing act. Another thing to figure out is if you would like to be there when there's some special decor and celebrations and stuff. There's things like the Halloween season is from like mid-September right to now, actually, November. So there's Halloween decor out, and then it switches over and into November comes out the Christmas decor, and there's different parades and celebrations and things. So if you're interested in those types of things, obviously we want to plan for your trip within those times. But then usually the crowd levels go up when something changes, when there's new decor. So again, we got to balance the crowd levels, the weather, and then our special celebrations. Oh, one thing to note though about timing is I would always suggest that you plan the days that you're going to be in the park to be weekday days, so Monday to Friday rather than weekends. Saturday and Sunday are busy all the time, all year round, extremely busy. it is important to know that Disneyland is busy all of the time anyways. Like there's no time when you're going to go into Disneyland and just like walk on to every ride. That never happens. It's always busy, but there are times that are busier and less busy. But the weekends are always busy. So let's plan for you to go midweek. Next thing would be what hotel to stay in. So there are three Disneyland Resort hotels. So those are the ones that are owned and run by Disney, and they are all Disney themed. The rooms are themed for Disney. It's not like over the top. They're actually pretty subtle, but staying at a Disneyland Resort hotel would be a premium experience with that price tag attached, and that would be for people who really want every part of their Disneyland holiday to be Disney themed. So, of course, when you're at a Disneyland hotel, the service is going to be really good. You're nice and close to the parks, and you know, there's a couple of nice perks, like they have really nice outdoor areas as well. There are views of fireworks in different rooms and all that kind of stuff. So those three hotels are for people who are really interested in making sure that the whole experience is Disney. If that is not that important to you, then there are hundreds of hotels in the area to choose from. What I have found is that the closer you get to Disneyland, in general, the higher the price to stay, which makes sense. There's a premium for not having to walk as far. So there are tons of options to choose within walking distance. And then there are also lots of hotels that are in the area, but you might not necessarily want to walk the distance every day. So they are all connected with a bus system called the ART, Anaheim Resort Transportation System, which is basically a city bus. You can hop on, hop off, and come and go throughout the day to your hotel. So if you would plan to go to Disneyland and spend your whole day there and come home at night, so you would just be making that trip, you know, there in the morning and back at night, then I think staying further from Disneyland is no big deal at all. The bus system is simple, pretty easy to use, and so if you stay at a hotel that is a little further away, you often can get more space. Some of the hotels are newer outside of that, and you know, really close area. The newer ones are a little bit further away, so a nicer hotel, more space, and then there often are more perks like breakfast included. Yeah, and then they're all connected on the bus line. So if you're wanting to, you know, if you're going to be in the parks for long periods of time, then we can look a little bit further, I would say. If you have really little ones and you're going to be heading back to the hotel for naps, midday breaks, that kind of thing, then you might want to stay closer so that you can just walk to and from. Although I will say that even the 7-minute walk that I was doing on my last trip felt like a 20-minute walk because you're so tired after all the walking. So I'm not really sure that it makes that big a difference. Anyways, so those are kind of the two types of options, closer and further away, and then the Disneyland Resort hotels. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the airports and what options there are there. So if you're traveling out of Vancouver, going YVR and then flying into California, there's generally 2 options that I book. So you can fly into LAX, which is in LA, which is about an hour, give or take, from Anaheim, from the parks. Or you can fly into Orange County, or Santa Ana, it's also called. The airport code is SNA, and that's about a 20-minute drive from the park, so it's quite a bit closer. So it's really lovely to fly into SNA. I would say on my last trip, I actually timed when on our return, we were picked up. I booked a private car service. So we were picked up from our hotel and driven to the airport. Then we checked in, went through security, and we're sitting at our gates. And that whole entire, from picking up at the hotel to sitting at our gates was 40 minutes. So that's amazing. So it's really lovely to fly into SNA if you can. A couple of issues though is it can be more expensive. It's usually a little bit more expensive to fly into SNA, and there aren't as many flight options. So, whether or not that's important to you, we can talk about, but those are your options, LAX or SNA. Okay, I think I have gone on long enough. 15 minutes talking about Disneyland. We talked about how long to plan your trip, when is the best time to go, the ticket options, the hotel options, and the airport options. Okay, so that's Disneyland 101. If you would like me to do another video kind of going a little bit deeper into maybe the experience actually in the parks, some planning tips for that, let me know in the comments and I will do that. And if you have any questions about taking that first trip to Disneyland, again, please go ahead and comment. And if you are ready to actually, jump and get that trip booked, then I'm here to help. I can take you way past this information, and I have a system that walks you through every aspect of your trip so that it's all taken care of, and you can just kind of sit back and relax and let it happen. You can be as involved as you like, and I will answer your questions along the way. So you can send me an email, or which my email address is ktatum@tpi.ca, and I will put that in the comments. So feel free to send me an email or swing over to my website and click the button where you can book an initial call with me, and we will get going on your trip. All right, I'm going to hang out in the comments, so I look forward to seeing you there. Bye, guys.